We're back, baby. We had a
Woohoo!
little we had a little
Woo!
vacation there, our little summer getaway, but now it's time to get in. Now it's back to business. Training camp starts in a week. Holy cow, this July has flown by. Oh my goodness.
This whole year
54
is
days
slow.
until Steeler kickoff. 54
Wow.
days.
Wow, we're less than 2 months away.
Yay.
All right. I want to do something. I want to
Okay.
play Family Feud.
Ooh,
Ooh.
Family Feud, and
are
we're
you gonna
going
kiss the
to
milk?
the topic is the top um questions or issues or storylines going into Steelers training camp.
Okay.
Okay. So we got
Fun.
top 10 answers? Top top 9 answers on the board. Maybe 10. Okay.
That's a lot for two people.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's only 9.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Oh, I see what happened. Yeah, okay. Yeah, 9 answers. Okay. Okay. So you could just say buzz or something or whatever.
Buzz.
Buzz.
So what do you think is one of the biggest issues going into Steelers training camp?
Buzz.
Buzz.
Uh Allison, you're first.
Wide receivers.
Wide receivers. Show me wide receiver. Maybe? Maybe? Um
Malfunction.
okay, now I have to find out how to share. Okay, here we have a top-notch operation here. Ding ding ding. Number 2.
Yay.
Number 2. Who will be
Yay.
wide receiver 2? So who the hell is going to be wide receiver 2?
Kind of remains to be seen because I
Is
think,
he on the roster or is he maybe on the
right.
49ers roster right now?
That's where you're going. I mean,
Yep. Yeah,
Steelers
today.
fans are obviously losing their mind over the prospect of bringing him in, right? So we're talking about
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk. Right now, Steelers are a 400 plus favorite. They are the favorite team to land him. The Patriots are 425, and I think the Chargers are 450.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and the thing I think a lot of the people are pushing back on, well, we don't have enough money. Yeah, actually, if you look at it, the projected cap next year, we're third with 89.6 million in cap availability.
Yeah.
So, we don't want to get greedy because this offseason's been batshit crazy. We brought
Mm-hmm.
in 2 new quarterbacks. We brought in all this stuff. Draft went pretty well. They've done things we never thought they'd do. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Ayuk is not a Steeler wide receiver some point at camp. But it is the NFL. People will do crazy things. So, but I feel like if they're gonna land him, I really feel like by the next time we have a podcast, so within the next week or two, they got to pull the trigger sooner rather than later. Because if they don't, he's gone.
You
He will
got to
not
get him
last
in.
long.
You got to get him in and get him with the team and get him, I mean, this is a new offense, new quarterbacks. You got to you got to get him integrated as soon as possible if you're going to get him.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say right now is, right training camp time is, it's great timing. I mean, would it have been great to have him, during OTAs and things like that? Sure. You know what I mean? But he's a veteran, everybody's sort of learning at the same pace, that he would be right now because everything's so new to everybody. So I don't know that they're necessarily at a disadvantage as long as they get him in, for the start of training camp.
I was going to swear up and down that Brandon Ayuk is not going to be traded. But I also swore up and down that there was no way the Steelers were going to get Justin Fields. So clearly, we are not in a normal world. So anything could happen. They could get Brandon Ayuk. They could get DK Metcalf. They could get Sutton, Cortland Sutton. They could get whoever. Who knows who? Who knows? Devontae Adams. They could get Devontae Adams. Who knows? This
Yeah,
is
they need somebody. And I don't know, like I'm sure the Steelers know plenty more than the average, outsider or whatever, but I know that Arthur Smith, loves to use tight ends apparently. He loves to run the ball. So maybe they're seeing like Pickens as a 1 and Freiermuth as a 2. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's something that we're just not really looking at. You know what I mean? That the Steelers already have a solution currently in house. And maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Here's my problem with that, and that's you're probably 100% accurate. But what if Pickens gets hurt?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
Van Jefferson is your number one wide receiver. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's just something needs to be done. And, hoping that Roman Wilson or Van Jefferson works out, I think that's just playing with fire.
I
Yeah.
think when you have guys like, oh, go ahead, Allison.
I still have doubts that Pickens couldn't even be a number one.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've always even the second they let Deontay Johnson go, I was like, there's no way that they're gonna go into the season with George Pickens as the number one receiver. I was like, there's no way, he's a baby. He's a big crybaby, unless all of a sudden things and I know a lot of it had to do with the offense and Matt Canada and blah 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 blah. But still, it's like when you have that type of character, you have those kind of traits. I don't know that necessarily gets any better just because things are awesome for a little while. If they even are going to be awesome for a little while, like nobody knows.
You're asking him to mature awfully quickly, right?
Thank
So it's
you.
like, I mean, he could be a number one, but I share the same reservations that you do. And you talk about Roman Wilson. I think Roman Wilson, I feel he could be a big steal. I think he could do really well. But usually a guy like a Roman Wilson, they kind of come out because there's two big wide receivers that are, kind of overshadowed or getting all the attention, and they kind of come up out of nowhere out of the slot or subbing into the number two position, whatever it may be. That's kind of the Roman Wilson success stories you normally hear. And they just don't have that right now. That's why I think it's dire that they find somebody, because you're right, Joe. I mean, if they get hurt or like to Allison's point too, Pickens is a wild card. He could have he could start the first 3 weeks on fire and then have a nuclear mental meltdown in the fourth week and then be suspended or whatever. And that scares the heck out of me. I know Arthur Smith's good with the tight ends. I think if you're in fantasy, Pat Freiermuth is probably, haven't looked yet, he's probably up the boards quite a bit than what he was, right, as a tight end. So what are they going to do with the tight end with him in the running game? I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Najee Harris looks fantastic. I think he could be bucking for a really big year. But it all does come to how funny how one position on the offense that's not really legit fulfilled can really throw a lot of gray area to the other positions on the team.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Let's say they do get an Ayuk or a Cortland Sutton or Devontae Adams or something like that, and now you have two really good options at wide receiver. Doesn't that make this offense that much better? Like a lot better?
Yeah.
I think so.
Just one player can change a whole outlook. The Steelers are, they're right where they want to be right now. Everybody's doubting them. So many people are projecting them to be like last in the division, and it's like, whatever, that's fine.
Which they've never done.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Never finished last.
That's what's so weird. It's like, come on. We had Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and we still were not last in the division. So why?
Browns haven't won the division in like almost 40 years. Just saying.
Right.
Yeah. Since the AFC North formed, they're 95, 40, and 2 against competition.
Yeah.
So, a lot of that's Cowher, a lot of that's good old Mike T. So, whatever, give the credit to whoever's due, but it's been a pretty good ride. But again, it's the toughest division in football yet again this year, which is why Hard Knocks, and I think it's kind of smart they chose the whole division. So I'll be kind of watching this year. Oh, hello, kitty cat. Alf likes to eat cats, so be careful. Cats.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, watch out.
He doesn't know.
Yeah. So there's our 80s trivia showing.
Right.
But no, I think it's basically the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers. I still feel the Bengals are a little far back.
Especially since Joe, shaved his head.
Yeah.
Now
I think it's Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, and Browns are gonna suck.
I don't know. I mean, you figure that Cleveland team did half decent with a tremendous amount of injuries last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're all back. They're fairly healthy. I think the Browns could be tough. We'll see. We'll see. But again, yeah, yeah.
All
What's the next
right.
family feud?
All right, what's the next? So we already got actually we already talked about one. Is George Pickens ready to be a wide receiver one? We already
Mm.
covered that. So all right, what's the next guesses to the biggest storylines going into training camp?
Buzz,
But
I'll
yes,
say,
Darren,
who's the quarterback controversy?
there you go. That's actually number one.
Yeah.
Number one.
Nice.
Well, the quarterback, as the rest of the country thinks there's a quarterback battle, but
Right.
people who have a brain know that there is no actual quarterback battle. It's just basically how's Russell Wilson going to do and how's Justin Fields going to do. We know
Mm.
Russell Wilson will probably be the starter, but
Yeah.
what's Justin Fields going to do? What's the how are they going to divide the snaps? Is it going to be 50-50? Is it going to be all Russell Wilson?
Yeah, I
Who
saw
knows?
somebody on Twitter the other day said, "Well, they're going to be showing their." There was actually a Browns thing. Although they're going to be showing their tail every time they bring in Fields. Hey, last year Russell Wilson 38 times ran for first downs for the Denver Broncos. 38 times he ran for a first down. Russell Wilson can still move. I mean,
Mhm.
I know he's getting older, but he's faster than I am. I can tell you that. That's for damn sure. But you hear what he's doing in camp, right? I mean, he's been running with the rookies. He's been boxing. So he could have done what Russell Wilson did first year in Denver, right? Like come in, take it easy, got my own office in the thing,
Yeah.
got limo. I'm at this place, I'm at that place, I'm signing autographs here. And it didn't go well, right? He did go to the children's hospital and stuff like that. So kudos to that. But he seems to be very dialed in. So yeah, I think that's still there. So now you have a Russell Wilson that's very focused, and he didn't have a bad year last year. He wasn't a Pro Bowl or All Pro, but 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's in. I think the thing that they have to be looking at, guys, is he doesn't turn the ball over. Meanwhile, Justin Fields has been
Yeah.
to this point in his career a turnover machine. Which is I think what everybody scratched their head about. Like, okay, we're gonna bring him in, but we got rid of Kenny Pickett. We didn't like him for all these reasons, small hands, whatever. Um, but this guy, I'm telling you, if he turns the ball over that many times in the next 2 years, he's gonna be booed out of here in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think you're right, Joe. I think it's Russell Wilson's to lose and Justin Fields to make them feel confident enough to put him in? Is he going to be Slash? Because we've seen that a little bit. They showed their tail. He's been on kickoff returns. He lined up in the slot the other day. Is Cordell Stewart back? I mean,
Yeah.
I have my Cordell Stewart jersey still. I'll break it out. Drew Yinzer,
Sure. Sure.
starter jersey.
Um, yeah, there while we were gone, there was that little controversy that, oh my God, a reporter said Justin Fields looked terrible or something like that. It's like we have to remember what his deal is. He came from Chicago. Chicago gave him away for nothing, and and no other team wanted him. There's a reason for that because he is deeply flawed. All of the fumbles, all the interceptions and stuff. He has a lot. He's not a finished product. Russell Wilson is. Russell Wilson is, you know what you're getting with Russell Wilson. But with Justin Fields, he needs to work, he needs to improve. And that's okay. He's still a young guy. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with him just, sitting back learning and just improving and just sitting back while Russell Wilson handles the team. What do you think, Allison?
Yeah, they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, huh? I mean, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And that's why I think that, you know, Pittsburgh was smart to bring them both in because we know that Fields, he's a phenomenal talent. He's oozing with athleticism. He just doesn't have his brain and his body aren't connecting or whatever. And he's not paying attention in me. Like I was reading a lot about, his days in Chicago and why why it just didn't work out there, but to essentially be paired with a veteran quarterback like Russell Wilson is the best case scenario for Justin Fields, and not only for whatever he's going to do in Pittsburgh, if anything, but for the future, right? Because I mean, he's whatever he does this year is gonna dictate what happens with him next year, and if he stays in Pittsburgh, what kind of contract he gets, or if he goes elsewhere, what kind of contract he gets. Is he gonna be a starter again? There's a lot of questions surrounding Justin Fields where we don't have as many questions with Russell Wilson. So I think it's a really great opportunity for Justin Fields to kind of, put Chicago behind him. You know what I mean? And really kind of show that he still has enough, you know what I mean, for teams to want to have some kind of interest in him, whether it's a starter or, a high quality backup, nobody really knows right now, but it's a good situation, I think, for both of them, I think.
He definitely has to rehabilitate his image. And so he has a lot of work to do. And the things I've heard about Justin Fields is he makes some throws. It's like, oh my God, how did he do that? Good and bad. He'll make an
Right, yeah.
amazing throw
Right.
and he'll make a stupid throw. So, he needs to just be more consistent and get rid of those bad habits.
But he was always an intelligent player in college. He's a smart young man.
Ohio State, yep.
Yeah, actually, and I'm talking intelligent. He's a smart young man. I think that he is at this point in his career, and I can't speak for him. I don't know him. He hasn't told me any of this. But I think what he's looked at is like, okay, look, first 2 years haven't gone well. And I was with an organization. The Bears have not been good. I've spent 2 weekends in the last 2 months in Chicago. So a total of like almost 2 weeks. And you ask anyone out there, and I know fans always going to have just an armchair quarterback, but the coaches have been horrible. Other than Dave Wannstedt because of the Pittsburgh connection, it's really hard if I could tell you right now, tell me who the Bears head coach is, or let's play another video game and give me three of the 7 coaches that have been there since Ditka left, right? It's been awful. The kid hasn't been developed well, and Matt Canada sure as hell wasn't going to do any better, so that's a good reason he's gone. So I don't think Matt Canada could do Connect 4. So let alone connect him. So I think he has to be looking at it like, okay, at most, hopefully I have a year here to recollect my thoughts, re-energize. I'm behind a Super Bowl quarterback who honestly has some numbers that are Hall of Fame considerate. Joe knows I'm very, anal about Hall of Fame. Like only the best of the best of the best go there. But his resume is not bad. And he's like, hey, I have most turnovers. That's me. Most turnovers of anybody in the league. That's me. And that guy has the least. So maybe it's time for me to sit back, grab a clipboard a little bit, or get to play a little bit, whatever the hell it may be, whatever combination it is. And that's going to be good for me to keep. Because other than that, you're going to be one of those other stats. High ranked Ohio State quarterback drafted. And now he's probably we'll see him in Columbus in a few years. Maybe he can come coach somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, because you're right, Allison's right, dead on. He's got all this talent. It's all there. It's here. It's here. It's here. It's in the legs. It's just we need to bring it all together. He knows it. Yeah. We know it. But sometimes you need to take a step back before you can take a step forward.
And he's at a crossroads, and so is Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has a lot to prove too. So, we'll see how that all goes. All right, what's the next guess? Is the biggest questions? Yes.
Will Livy Dunn show up at Steelers training camp? Is that one of them? Did I get it right?
No. Why would she show up at Steelers training camp?
She's showing up everywhere. It's like
really?
It's Livy Dunn. It's it's Pittsburgh. They're interested in the girlfriend.
If she showed up at Permanis or something like that, she would probably double in weight. Cause I mean, she looks like she's like 4'1" and 30 pounds or something like that. I mean, she's a tiny gymnast. I want to see her down in like a Permanis, like the big, although like one of the big ones with the fries and the coleslaw or something like that.
Double meat. Give me the double meat.
Yeah.
Right. Me and the Hakua girl are gonna go to training camp. I need to show up. Okay, so I missed that one. I'm kidding.
I'm gonna say something with the running backs. I don't even know. What?
Okay, I'm gonna call it
my serious answer would be if it's not the running backs, because I think that's a really good one. It would be Arthur Smith's transition as OC.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say, what is the Arthur Smith offense going to look like?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, like you mentioned, Allison, maybe there'll be a whole bunch of tight ends. Maybe it'll be one wide receiver and three tight ends or something like that. Who knows? Maybe, Pat Fryermuth picked a real good year to have a contract year, because
Right, he
if they don't
did.
extend him this summer, he could explode. I mean, this offense looks perfect for tight ends,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he could explode. Maybe Mount Washington will have a big year. I don't
That would be
know,
nice.
but yeah, what is going to happen with the running backs? Is it going to be a 50-50 split? Or is it going to be, are they going to get a ton of carries? Are they going to get a ton of touches? We
Are they going to
really
be
don't know
thrown
what that Arthur
to?
Smith
You know,
offense looks like right now,
are they going to be used as pass catchers? Or that's
right?
another thing.
Right.
Maybe that's maybe wide receiver two is going to be Najee Harris.
Or Jalen Warren,
Nobody
yeah,
or Jalen Warren. Yeah, nobody knows. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and I know Arthur Smith talked. One of the things he said so far is keeping Najee Harris more grounded. And when they talked about him like not getting to the air and jumping over, trying to jump over a cornerback or whatever it's trying to catch him. And
Mm,
so I think you're going to see a decent year out of Najee. Maybe the Najee we've all been kind of waiting for. Not to say um, the fact he hasn't really shown his might yet isn't not necessarily all his fault.
mm-hmm.
But and I think, but Jalen Warren is everybody in Pittsburgh loves the backup running back. Like when Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala came in, crowd lost its shit. Willie
Boo.
Parker started coming in, everybody loved it. So that Jalen Warren is kind of in that natural popular position in Pittsburgh as the backup running back, and
Mhm.
he's good. And I think they'll continue to utilize him in the same manner. But if Najee takes off the way Najee can or was forecasted to, it could be a banner year for Najee Harris.
Mhm. Yep.
I
Yeah,
I
I'm looking
really
forward to
just
this
hope
offense.
I just hope that Najee's happy. He didn't talk to anybody here, but I heard he talked to some other reporter, and he seemed happy or something like that. Maybe he just doesn't like the Pittsburgh reporters. I don't know, uh, but I just hope he's happy, or it works. Even if he doesn't get a contract here, fine. But I think Najee, with all the crap that he has been through, with these god awful offensive lines and this the worst offensive coordinator in human history, he deserves a good offensive line and a good coordinator and a good team and have a
Mhm.
good year, because Najee, he puts the work in, he looks incredible. My God, he went from gaining a bunch of weight last season to losing a bunch of weight. He looks like a Greek god now. So maybe he'll be quicker. I think that'll be better. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm hoping the best for Najee.
Same here. I mean, I think his quickness, is lacked. There and again, offensive coordinator, offensive line, everything we've already been talking about ad nauseum in terms of why we haven't been able to see, maybe why we haven't seen the full potential of Najee Harris yet. But there's also, the other side of the coin where, really good running backs, that they make plays, regardless of the protection that they're afforded or whatever. But at the same time, yeah, man, I mean, it's going to be exciting this year to see the offense as a whole, but definitely the veterans, you know what I mean, who have kind of paid their dues the past couple of years with, all the different quarterback changes and the offensive coordinator changes and things. It's going to be really cool to see guys like Najee Harris be able to reap the benefits of the Steelers kind of having their shit together for once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What is our next guess or
Well, we haven't talked
storyline?
about defense much because
Yeah.
I feel like defense is pretty solid, but there is one controversy. You're probably looking at the cornerbacks and the
Mhm.
cornerback situation.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's a
I
good.
have I have one as the Nickelback, um, which kind of scares me because that makes me think of the rock band. But yeah, who's going to be the slot corner? Who's going to be the Nickelback?
Hmm.
Uh, y- it could be. It sounds like It sounds like the consensus person in the pole position is an undrafted rookie, that Beanie Bishop. Like, that's a lot to put on an undrafted rookie.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a
Well,
big question mark about the defense.
it is, and obviously, I mean, there's definitely some controversy with who else is in there. As he's
Mhm.
got a suspension and deservedly so, and um, I think you find a lot of Steelers fans that don't want him on the team, and I
Yeah.
can totally understand that. And I'm not sure I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
If you look at it from, I guess, a football standpoint, um, they do on week, what is it, Joe, 8 or 9, they'll get a fairly healthy, ready to go slot corner,
Mhm.
and that, and considering the way that, sorry, Joe, jackass schedule is set up this year, that might come at the very right time for them because their back half of the schedule is brutal.
Mhm.
It's brutal in the division, and he might come along at the right time. And you have to think that everything that the guy's been through and everything he's done to deserve what he's been through, he has a lot to prove to everybody. So
Mhm.
that's what I guess, you hope for the Little House on the Prairie ending, where he comes through and he's a better man, especially to his wife or future girlfriend, whatever it may be. That's number one. And number two is he gets back into football, focused on being a good husband and, a good human being. And I guess that's the fairy tale ending you kind of hope for. But until that time, they could be a little exposed there.
Yeah,
Unless
and
Bishop comes out of nowhere.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Right.
had to, the Steelers knew, Tomlin knew the minute that even when they started talking to him that it was going to be at least 8 games, right? I mean, nobody thought he was never going to
Maybe
be
if they were
suspended
lucky,
or
only 6.
3 games. Like
Yeah.
he didn't even appeal, right? Like he's like,
No,
there's
no.
no
No.
point. There's no
I
point in
think he just
appealing.
wants to put it all behind him.
Right. Yeah.
And
Right.
Exactly.
okay, we all
Exactly.
do.
Yeah. And as Tomlin, December football, blah blah blah. That's when they want to be at their best. So I don't think that Tomlin even cared to take that into consideration when they signed him because they're like, well, you know what? If we have to, you know, take some bubble gum and put the secondary together for the first 8 games, you know what I mean, while he's gone or whatever, then we can do that. But I think that they're gonna get that fresh legs, fresh mind, fresh everything. You know what I mean? Out of Cam Sutton, and again, the situation is awful, but just in terms of thinking of it from a football perspective, I think that it's could be a good thing. The suspension could end up being a good thing, for the position.
I,
When
I guess
when
that's
this
what you hope for.
Hmm.
yeah.
You got to get. I guess everybody deserves a second chance. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is yours, buddy.
And
Um,
and I think from the Steelers' perspective, their attitude is, yeah, okay, you made a huge mistake. We know you, we know you're a good dude. People deserve a second chance. Don't you ever even think of doing anything like that again.
Hmm.
But if you can be a good citizen, go back to the person we know you are and can be, then we'll give you that second chance. But
right. Well, and he got a big break, right? Because everyone said, "Well, the Lions cut him." Well, the Lions cut him because at the time it was a felony. And I mean,
Right.
if it would have
Mhm.
stuck as a felony, he's done. I mean, it doesn't matter. Nobody was bringing him in. It just logistically wasn't going to
I
happen.
mean,
And then after they dropped it to a misdemeanor, and all of a sudden, and he does know. If you remember with Cam Sutton, one of the things about him was he picked up on the Steelers' defense very well. He
he
knew
was
it.
very smart.
All the guys said he's probably one of the smarter guys in the entire team on defense. So maybe, and I'm not sure if he's suspended, what the rule is there, Allison. I'm not sure if you picked up on that, but is he allowed on the sidelines in street clothes, or is he
No.
like, so he's
No.
gone?
I think
Right. Yeah.
he's allowed to be with the team during training camp,
Hmm.
but I think it's a week before the first game starts. He has to be gone. He has to be completely away from the team while he's suspended.
Okay, because
Hmm.
I was thinking, well, I mean, maybe he can, coach some of those younger guys or help explain that since he seems to have such a grasp on it. But
Yeah.
Hmm.
sounds like he's not. So
Yeah. Another thing happened that while we were away, and when we touched on this with the Hard Knocks, when the schedule came out, we thought, wow, this is weird. Wow, you put all the division games at the end. That's a brutal schedule and that stinks. And wow, that really sucks. And then we see that this Hard Knocks comes out as, oh, by the way, I mean, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but come on.
Right.
This is just right there. Oh, let's have our little TV show at the same time they're playing all their division games while we're doing a thing on the entire division.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Wow.
wild.
Yeah. I mean, well, and I think for the first time in a while, I think the SC is kind of open to represent the Super Bowl, right? Because it is so hard to three-peat. I mean, we're talking now. You're talking about Steelers dynasty, the Patriots maybe dynasty, the Niners, the Cowboys. I mean, none of them. The only team never really did it was the Bills in the early '90s, right? And I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs probably are the best team on paper, but I think it's going to be extremely hard for them to get there. And I really feel like if anyone is still going to displace Kansas City, it's going to be someone out of our division and possibly Buffalo. But I think the Bills have regressed a little bit too. I mean, um, so I don't know. But yeah, Joe. I mean, it covers a brutal 9 weeks. Or at least the last 9 weeks will be brutal. They cover the whole season, but because I think that's the Giants that are the preseason Hard Knocks team this year, right? The
Yeah.
training camp. Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm gonna watch them. So excited about watching that.
yeah, the Giants. Ooh.
That's must see TV right there.
Well, I guess in New York it probably is, but not,
Yeah.
outside of, New York.
I mean, yeah, the Giants aren't that great of an organization, and that they weren't very. I don't know if it was their choice, but have cameras show how not smart they are. That was not the best idea. But
Right.
uh, what's okay? So what other questions or issues are going into training camp?
I think, just what kind of impact Patrick Queen will have,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he's obviously the biggest ad. He should make the biggest impact. Kind of hard on defense. I always feel like training camp's more set up for offense a little bit because the defensive guys are not really going to pound anybody. They'll get a little aggressive. They probably are more physical in their own defensive workouts, right? Everyone's been in Latrobe. They kind of go at each other, but it will be interesting in the preseason games, depending on how much they play, as we keep whittling those away. And I think we'll get down to like two preseason games in the next 2 years, my guess. But
Probably.
I think Patrick Queen is much of an impact as you might see in a preseason or camp setting. But it'll be interesting to see what he does and how he works with Watt and the other backers. And then, of course, the big thing is Cam Hayward.
Yeah. He could be playing in his last year. In fact, more than likely.
Yeah. I mean, most likely he'll probably get a contract, but um, whether he does or doesn't, he was majorly hurt last year. So what's he gonna look like? That's another big question.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Queen he's the Steelers' most expensive free agent ever, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe so.
Wow.
And
So,
Cole
yeah.
Holcomb too, right? I mean, opposite him, like is he even
Is
what
he
is
ready?
at it?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like what nobody, not a lot of people are talking about him and are talking about the fact that like, okay, is this a Landon Roberts? You know what I mean? Or is it gonna be Cole Holcomb? Like who's gonna be
Or Peyton Wilson.
right, that's true. Yeah. And it's like the big
Right.
the second that we signed Patrick Queen, everybody was like, "Oh, Roquan Smith." You know what I mean? Like he's nobody without Roquan Smith. Well, it's
Right,
like, okay, he's got to prove now to all the haters, all the doubters, but it's like we don't have really a Roquan Smith to pair with Patrick Queen. So it's like, you know what
On
I mean?
paper, you have an amazing front seven with Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton, who should be better, in his second year. Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Patrick Queen, Landon Roberts, and Alex Highsmith. And that's your front seven. Dang. On
Yeah.
paper, that is elite.
Their
Oh,
defense
definitely.
could be elite this year. It could be.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
think that's why, Joe, I think it was a fun activity tonight, right? To do this because our top three answers, top four were all offensive concerns. And we
Mhm.
haven't, I guess I hope I'm not trying to jump ahead of your game here, but the offensive line, right? I
That's
mean,
number 4. Yeah.
right. So that right there. So there we go. Right. So top 4 out of 5 are offensive questions,
Yeah.
including the coordinator. Um, and you're basically asking a rookie center to anchor that line, and he's got a lot heaped on him. Guess it's irony, 54 days. He's wearing jersey number 54, but he's being asked a lot, so that offensive line is going to be given a lot to handle very quickly starting next week.
And are they going to
Mhm.
start day one with the way the offensive line is
Right.
eventually going to be with Broderick Jones at left tackle and
Yep.
Fautanu at right tackle and Frazier at center? Is that how we're going to start the season, or are we just going to eventually work into that?
Right. Is
We'll
Mason
see.
McCormick going to get a little bit of playing time more than what we kind of thought he would,
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, and apparently, and I mean, one of the things that Arthur Smith comes to the table, I mean, including he was in Tennessee and Atlanta, is offensive lines love them. So hopefully that continues on with Pittsburgh because it's been since Mike Munchak's been here, since our
Mhm.
offensive line was not a worry. Like hey,
Right.
the Donut Bag podcast don't need to talk about offensive line because Mike Munchak got it. Moving on to
Yeah.
the next thing, but it's been a damn train wreck since he's left.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no question. And what's interesting is that, the Mike Tomlin teams of the past, yeah, they would wait. They would wait for the rookies to develop, which again, like how do you develop if you're not playing? I don't know. But like we saw with Joey Porter last year, like we saw with Roderick Jones last year, they were kind of slow to get reps. And then finally once they did, we're like, why did we wait this long? You know what I mean? To incorporate some more. But now it's like, yeah, you would think that maybe they've learned their lesson. You know what I mean? And plus, it's not just Tomlin now, right? He's got this whole big staff of like all these assistant
Mhm.
coaches that he's never had before. And it's going to be interesting to kind of see like how maybe that changes his mode of operation. You know what I mean? Like, are these rookies going to start, from week one or not? And I really hope they do, especially if they're
Yep.
as ready as they're going to be in terms of, being a rookie. So,
Playing against some of the better defensive lines in the NFL, right? I mean, they
right.
not only
Yeah.
what they have here, Baltimore twice, Cleveland twice, 2 very good defenses, but you
Mhm.
can say what you want to say about the Jets, but they play the Jets again. The Jets is a very good. They were a very good defensive team last
Mhm.
year. They were so good they almost single-handedly took the Jets to the playoffs last year. If the
Mhm.
Yeah.
Jets would have had any semblance of an offense, they'd probably make the playoffs.
Or any semblance of a
So
quarterback. Yeah.
right. Yeah, right. Right. So, and that's where you're at. So, I mean, offensive line is being given a lot to take on.
Mhm. Yeah. Lots of
You know, they
pressure
get
there.
they get the Raiders again, so they go against Crosby.
Mhm.
So yeah.
The only other thing I had on the list is who's going to be a surprise cut and who's going to be a surprise to make the roster. The only people I have that might be a surprise cut is I think on the defensive line with Loudermilk or Leal.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um
Yeah. I follow college football religiously, and Leal's been a disappointment because when they picked him out of Texas A&M, he was phenomenal at Texas A&M. I mean, so quick and so powerful. And I thought, yeah, this is going to be like our next Aaron Smith, maybe. Not exactly Aaron Smith, but you know, that's just the way it goes. You know, with the NFL
Yeah.
draft, all the hype can be there, and sometimes there's bigger names than Leal that haven't worked out in the past. But it'd be a disappointment that a third round pick like that would be a bust.
wow,
Mhm.
third round. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
And they traded, I think I traded up for Loudermilk or something like
Yeah,
that and got him in the fifth round.
Mhm. I
right?
don't remember.
But,
It feels like he's been around forever, right? Doesn't it?
He has
yeah.
been around forever. He was drafted in 2021.
But Joe, can they afford that and the depth of that defensive line to really cut either one of those two?
That's a good question.
I
That's a good
mean,
question. Larry Ogunjobi's always hurt, and we don't know what's going on with Cam Hayward if he's fully 100%. And they don't have much to begin with there. Montravius Adams, they got this Dean Lowry, uh,
yeah,
Braden Fajoko. Yeah,
Dean Lowry.
they don't have much, and then they drafted someone in the 6th round, Logan Lee. So yeah, they don't have a lot. So it might be one of those situations where like, well, we don't like you, but we can't get rid of you because we don't have much.
right,
Yeah.
right. But yeah, so that's kind of an interesting aspect of it too, because it's an older off defensive line, and it could be a younger one. But yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, be on standby because when the Ayuka trade comes in, we might do a special podcast
Heck
episode.
yeah. I'll be
yes,
here.
yeah. We've got a couple months without having a special emergency podcast episode, so that would definitely.
When was our last one? Was that when Matt Canada got fired?
No, I
forget.
think it had to have been something with the quarterbacks.
Oh yeah,
You know, which I laugh about to this day because Allison and I both got on here profusely like, hey, okay, good, we're not getting Justin Fields. This is why we didn't want him anyway.
We don't want him.
Whoops.
Yeah, we had a special episode when the craziest week in Steelers history, getting rid of Kenny Pickett and picking up Russell Wilson and Justin Fields in the same week. That was the craziest week in Steelers history. So
I
that
was totally ready to see Kenny Pickett with Arthur Smith. Like I was totally ready. I was like, yes, Kenny's gonna get his opportunity to shine. And then
so
I'm like,
was he.
What? Now he's a backup in Philly?
So was Tomlin. So was Rooney.
Yeah.
So was everyone.
Yeah.
Even without Ayuk coming, it's been the most absolutely crazy offseason I think ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it just makes this training camp to be probably one of the most interesting training camps ever.
Yeah.
It really does. Be down there in a few weeks. We got some stuff going on from my company that we're doing down there and get a good look at it. So, yeah, going to be interesting.
Yeah, I got a plan. When I'm going down to Latrobe.
Yeah, you got to let us know. We got to bring Allison up.
Oh yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
fly me up.
That's in the donut bag.
On the
Donuts
podcast
has a
budget.
budget
We'll
for that.
Right. Right.
If they get Ayuk, the other factor is the guy is a exact copy of Mike Tomlin. He looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
He does. But Allison made a really good point earlier, and I hadn't thought of it until she said it. If you bring in Ayuk, what does that do to Pickens' mental aspect?
Oh my goodness,
hey,
it could destroy it.
I'm number one. No, it's Brandon Ayuk. Guess what? You are number two.
Right.
I
don't think that could be the best situation for his game anyway.
Like, yep.
Right now, he's going to be quadruple covered, and he's not going to get any looks, and he's going to be pissed off, and he's going to
that's true. That's true. Yeah, we talked about how fragile George Pickens is, and we don't know whether he could cut it as wide receiver one, but imagine an Ayuk comes in. Obviously, Ayuk is going to be wide receiver one, and Ayuk is going to come in with this massive contract, and here is Pickens still on his rookie deal, making minimum wage.
Yep.
You don't think that's going to be a factor too?
Right.
That could get ugly.
Right. And if we're rewinding podcasts, I think I still go back to the Deontay Johnson one because we were on opposite sides of the spectrum. I'm like, get rid of him, and you two were like, well, but
keep him.
What are you going to do? So in a way, I feel like I ended up being wrong in a way. Like I was right that he was gone, but I assumed that they had an answer for that. Like they picked somebody up right away. That's where I was wrong. And you two looked, and really to this point to tonight, looked kind of brilliant because that hole that you were worried about, it's still there.
Still there. Yeah.
And that's scary. That is
I think the plan was, okay, we're getting rid of Deontay Johnson screw him in his attitude and all that baggage and stuff like that. But I think the plan was we'll get someone else. We'll trade for Ayuk probably around the time of the draft. We'll trade for someone and then we'll be fine. And that hasn't happened yet. So whatever trade fell through or something like that, and now there's this hole. So we'll see how they fill it.
Yeah.
I never would imagine we're sitting here July 16th and not that I imagine you two are right. I just can't believe we're sitting here July 16th and you're still right for the very fear that we both had.
That's a surprise. That is a surprise. We're a week away from training camp and we still don't know what's going on. That's a surprise. All right, guys. Good to be back.
Fun.
Yes, great to see you, Allison.
Especially welcome back, Allison. It's been a long time for you.
Yes, it has. I'm
Got
excited
a
to be back.
fancy microphone. I want a microphone that
look at that. That's
changes color like that. That's fancy.
I'll send you one. It's very fancy.
Okay, you send me one, and I'll send you plane tickets to come to Latrobe.
Sounds good. That's an even deal.
I want a microphone.
It's all in the podcast budget.
Right.
That's right.
Hey guys, thanks so much. I'll see you.
Bye guys. See you next time.